Moldova. Despite its exceptional wine, magnificent monasteries, and unique bottle-shaped buildings, Moldova remains one of the least visited countries in Eastern Europe. Meeting a tourist on the street is quite a find. In the next few minutes, we're going to unravel 15 mind-blowing facts about Moldova that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Moldova is famous for its wine, with lots of vineyards all over the country. There's a place called Cricova underground city that's more than 70 kilometers long. In this bizarre underground city, the streets are named after different types of wine, and they store wine everywhere at just the right temperature. You can visit and learn all about how they make wine, watch wine movies, and even taste some local wines. They offer private tours, and you can even have a fancy dinner there. Plus, it's not far from the capital city, Chisinau, so it's a great idea for a day trip. Speaking of wine, Moldova is home to the largest wine cellar in the world. Mileștii Mici is a former limestone mine and holds over 2 million bottles. Wine has been stored here since the 1960s, and some of the vintages are available to purchase, but they are on the pricey side. But it's okay. You can take advantage of their wine day. These grape groupies love hooch so much that they have 2 whole days in October dedicated to wine. On October 3rd and 4th, vineyards open their doors to visitors and offer tastings for half off. Buses safely escort guests from one drinking spot to the next with intoxicating results. Perhaps they spend so much on creating wine that they are particularly burdened by economic challenges. Now, that's no joke. Moldova actually holds the title of the poorest country in Europe, with a per-person income of only $5,327, as reported by the International Monetary Fund, IMF. Comparatively, its neighbor Ukraine has the second lowest at $8,305, while a wealthier neighbor has $20,326, and the United Kingdom leads with $42,480 per capita GDP. Thrown so many grapes into the mix, maybe, is just a wild guess. Moldova has a faster internet connection than Norway, the United States, and over 150 other countries. This might seem unexpected, but it's tied to Moldova's proximity to Romania, which also has remarkably fast internet. Despite Moldova having only 3% of Romania's GDP and a lower overall GDP than countries like Laos and Madagascar, its internet connectivity is outstanding. In a notable example, Orange introduced high-definition mobile service in Moldova 2 years before any other location, showing the country's technological amazing infrastructure. You can explore Moldova without breaking the bank. For example, visiting a museum costs 10 Moldovan leu, MDL, which is around $0.49. If you prefer taking the bus, it's just 2 MDL, equivalent to 10 cents US. Riding Chisinau's tramway for a one-way trip costs 2 MDL, approximately 7 cents in US. If you plan to stay longer and opt for a monthly pass, it's around $7 for 30 days of unlimited travel. Keep in mind, this is quite a steal compared to transportation costs in other places. In a poor country like Moldova, there's a town called Soroca where rich people are showing off their wealth in a fun way. They're building fancy houses that look like famous places, such as St. Peter's Basilica and the Bolshoi Theatre. This town, known as Gypsy Hill, has become a spot for tourists who come to see these crazy and impressive houses, even though the rest of the country faces tough times. Mad lovers of madcap architecture. Oh, let's not forget the cow. The national animal is a large cow, or more precisely, an auroch. While these robust bovines are now extinct, they are immortalized on Moldova's flag, which proudly displays the head of an auroch mounted on a shield, perhaps a reason for their extinction if they kept mounting them on shields. Also, the country's primary football stadium, Zimbru Stadium, derives its name from the Romanian word for bison. Plus, there are only 3 national flags in this world with different fronts and backsides. Moldova is one of the few nations that falls under this category. Speaking of national things, it brings to mind the national dish of Moldova, which is even more interesting. Mama Liga, good luck pronouncing that, a porridge made from yellow maize flour, takes the spotlight as Moldova's national dish. You'll find it on nearly every dinner table across the country, typically served alongside stews and meat dishes. This porridge is often topped with cottage cheese, sour cream, or pork rind for extra flavor. The wholesome dish is a big part of Moldovan food and is served by many high-end restaurants in the country. Another one of the most outstanding dishes of the local gastronomy is a kind of bread made with corn semolina. They love food, and with stomachs happily stuffed, they're bursting with life. The celebration appears to be never-ending. Moldova has a special love for Christmas, celebrating it from December 24th to 26th, which is a bit different from its Russian Orthodox neighbors who celebrate mainly in January. The festive preparations kick off in November with cake baking and pig slaughtering. The celebration peaks with 3 days of joyful feasting, parties, and gift-giving. Interestingly, Moldova has its version of Santa Claus called Moș-Crăciun, replacing the Russian Father Frost fairy tale after gaining independence. Moș-Crăciun bears a striking resemblance to the Santa Claus many of us are familiar with. You can visit any places you want, but stop. When you're entering someone's home, it's considered impolite to leave your shoes on. Leave them at the door. The house rule applies in most formerly Soviet countries for hygiene reasons. Guests are almost always provided with slippers. And if you are a native English speaker, good luck with the communication, because in Moldova, most people are bilingual or even trilingual, but they don't speak English. They speak Romanian as their main language, Russian, and some also speak Gagauz, a nearly extinct language with Turkish roots spoken by a minority in the southern part of the country. Gagauz is not widely known and is considered the second official language of Moldova by some. Unfortunately, it falls under the critically endangered category by UNESCO, as fewer than 200,000 people still use it. As with its languages, Moldova has a strong tradition of song and dance, with its music heavily influenced by Romania. A favorite in Moldova is Miorita, a traditional Romanian ballad that tells the story of sheep. This ballad is so beloved that the first 2 verses are printed on Moldova's banknotes. Yes, it reflects the cultural ties and shared musical heritage between Moldova and Romania. Moldova is a landlocked country, meaning it doesn't have direct access to the sea. However, it has a connection to the Black Sea through the Gypsy International Free Port. Moldova gained access to 450 meters of shoreline along the Danube River through a territorial exchange with Ukraine, allowing it to reach the Black Sea through this route. It's also a country that went nearly 3 years without a president. This happened less than a decade ago, too. From 2009 to 2012, there was a political deadlock in Moldova, with squabbling parties unable to reach a compromise with the group of communist defectors. Eventually, after 917 days, the country elected Nicolae Timofte as president, not by popular vote. In 2020, Moldova elected the country's first ever woman president, Maia Sandu. Political instability is one thing, but at its core, it's just very pretty to look at. Moldova's most important, and arguably most beautiful historical site, Orheiul Vechi, is a crumbling open-air monastic complex that dates back more than 2,000 years. The rambling ruins feature ancient fortifications, baths, and monasteries, which you'll have largely to yourself. Moldova has a mysterious site with more than 100 mounds of sand. The locals do not know the origin of these mounds, though. Most people believe they are the burial sites of those who lost their lives during ancient wars. Ironically, Moldova is an amalgamation of diverse elements that gives Moldova a unique character, one that is easier to experience than it is to describe. With that said, thanks for watching, and be sure to tune into our next exciting video.